In my first video, I covered 3 exercises that you could do at home with very little equipment to get a full body workout. They were push-ups, pull-ups, and squats. In this video, we're going to dive deeper into pull-ups. Pull-ups are a great compound movement that will work all your upper body pulling muscles. That includes your back, your biceps, your core, and your rear delts. They're a calisthenics classic, and we've seen what some of those guys look like. So today, let's get into it. When doing pull-ups, we're mainly working our back muscles, so it's good to understand the functionality of the muscles we're working. Right, the big main one people are thinking about when they do pull-ups are usually the lats. The function of the lats are primarily shoulder adduction, which is rotating your elbow, pushing it in towards your body. So this is shoulder adduction. That's one of the primary functions of the lat. The second is shoulder extension. And what that is rotating your elbow back and down like this. So this is shoulder extension, and this is shoulder adduction. And those are the 2 primary functions of the lat. In addition to the lats, though, you're also working your mid-back. And the muscles in the mid-back usually have to do with retraction and depression of the scapula. So what retraction of the scapula is basically pulling your shoulder blades backward. So this is a neutral shoulder position. Scapular protraction, which is forward, and retraction is squeezing your shoulder blades back. What that looks like is basically pinching your shoulder blades back and together. So protraction, and then using your mid-back muscles to retract and pull those scapula together. In addition, your scapula also depress. So your upper back, mid-back muscles also pull your shoulder blades downward. So scapular depression, scapular retraction are the main functions of the mid-back. And once again, the main function of the lats was shoulder adduction and shoulder extension. There is no single perfect correct hand position for doing pull-ups. Right? Different hand widths and different grips will help you bias different parts of your back. For the lats, I prefer a slightly wider than shoulder width grip. Right? What that allows me to get is a nice blend of extension and adduction. Wide grip pull-ups are totally fine. There'll be much more adduction, and they'll also limit your range of motion, as well as the amount of stretch you'll be able to get. Too narrow will be much more extension and no adduction. So slightly wider than shoulder width gives me a nice blend of the 2. In addition, remember your lats aren't the only muscle being worked. So make sure you get full extension, let your elbows lock out, let your shoulders, rise. And when you're pulling, make sure you depress your scapula when you do your pull-up. Right? Letting your arms lock out and letting your shoulders rise will give you a nice stretch in your lats. Research has shown that resistance in the stretch is great for hypertrophy. And also allows you to get your depression of your lats, of your scapula, to work those muscles during your pull-up. When doing pull-ups, you don't want a lot of swinging or momentum going because you want to use your muscles to pull yourself up and not momentum. So what you do is you want to stabilize your core. And how we do that is we brace our core. So think someone's about to hit you in the stomach and you want to tighten up your abs to take that hit. That's how you brace your core to keep your body stable and controlled during the motion. All right, another cue is pull your belly button back towards your spine while exhaling. All right, so don't hold your breath. We want to exhale while pulling your stomach in. What that does, make sure you can still breathe afterwards. So exhale while pulling your stomach in, and then keep that tight and maintain it. You'll notice your rib cage will tuck slightly, and that's a braced core. And you want to maintain this position throughout your pull-up to help keep your body stable with minimal swinging. Okay, so you want to, right now my body is just hanging loose. You want to brace your core. So my core is engaged and braced. My toes will point slightly forward. Right now my body is stable and doesn't have much swing. From there, I'll do my pull-up. So see how my body doesn't sway, right? What you don't want is you don't want to be doing that. See, my core wasn't engaged. I was doing a lot of swinging and using a lot of momentum to get myself up and over. And that's okay if your goal is just to pull yourself over the bar as many times as possible, regardless of how it's done. But if you're doing this to build your muscles in your back, then you just definitely don't want to get that swing in there. You want to keep it stable, minimal swing, controlled, and just using your muscles. So the last pull-up we did might be more of a textbook pull-up, but some people prefer doing arch back pull-ups, which are totally valid as well. Right? You won't have the same body position in arch back pull-up, but you still want to minimize that momentum and swing. What an arch back pull-up will do, though, is it will change your angle and allow you to get more of that upper mid back in there. So the pull-up we did before, we kept our body rigid, and we pulled up like that. For arch back pull-up, what we'll do is instead of just pulling our chin over the bar, is we're going to pull our chest to the bar, right? And that means we're going to arch our back, and the change of angle will allow us to get more retraction mid back into our motion. So what it looks like is, so still not swinging, not using momentum. So that's an arch back pull up. Change your angle, gets a bit more of the upper mid back in there. A little bit different than the one before, but still very valid as a pull up option. Pull-ups are a relatively difficult exercise with a relatively high strength threshold requirement. What that means is it's pretty hard to get an extra rep of pull-ups because of how much strength you need to accomplish a single pull-up, versus it's much easier to add reps of push-ups. So when you get to the point where you can't do any reps of pull-ups, you still can get a little bit more work in, and that's when negatives come into play. So let's say you're doing pull-ups, you've done your last rep that you could do normally, and you can't complete any more. What you could do is give yourself a little assistance, pushing off the floor, or a low step I have here in this situation, to get yourself above the bar, and then control the descent. That way you're still working the lats in the eccentric, and it doesn't require quite as much strength to get yourself all the way up. What that looks like is I often do these as kind of a drop set when I can't do regular pull-ups anymore. Another option you could go with is neutral grip. Now, neutral grip will make your pull-up more of a shoulder extension exercise. It'll also, similar to your arch back pull-up, change your angle and give you a bit more mid-back scapular retraction work. So obviously your hands are in neutral position, and because of that position, your elbows are going to travel in an elbow extension path of travel. Once again, minimal momentum and swinging. Still want to let your shoulder blades come up, and you really want to get good depression and retraction. So that's a neutral grip pull-up, and it's completely valid as well. The last one isn't exactly a pull-up, but it's pretty close, so they often get lumped together, and that's the chin-up. The difference between a chin-up and pull-up is the way your palms are facing. In a pull-up, your palms are facing outward. In a chin-up, your palms are facing towards you. The difference between a chin-up and a pull-up is that a chin-up, because of the angle of your palms, is going to recruit a lot more arms to help out. So chin-ups are generally considered to be easier by most. And if you want to get a bit more arm workout in there, chin-ups are a great option. You'll still work your back, but some of that load will be taken off and diverted to your arms. If your goal is to grow your back muscles and not specifically just doing more pull-ups, then partial reps are a great tool. Partial reps are essentially lengthened partials, which you'll hear a lot of people talking about. It's talked about a lot because research has shown that resistance in the most lengthened position gives you a little bit more hypertrophic results. So all partials are getting resistance really in mainly that lengthened position when you can no longer do full reps. So you do your pull-ups, you're tired, you can't do any more full reps, but you can squeeze out a few more of these. And that's totally okay. You'll still be building those back muscles. You'll get some more work out of your back when you would have been completely done if you just quit when you did your final full pull-up. As mentioned before, pull-ups have a relatively high strength threshold requirement to be able to complete. So if you can't do that yet, here are some ways to build up to it. One, if you have resistance bands, you can use those to give yourself a little help. I'm a normal guy with limited gym setup here, so I don't have those. What I do have though are rings. Rings are pretty cheap, you can get them online, or if you have a dip station, you can use that as well. But what we're going to do are inverted rows. Inverted rows are a lat focused exercise that will help you build up strength to be able to do a pull-up. Now remember, the function of the lat is shoulder extension, which is pulling your elbow back and around. So what you want to do is you really want to focus on pulling your elbow. Something that helps me do that is I like to use a half grip. That means I don't wrap my thumb around. I find that when you wrap your thumb around, people tend to grip hard and you start to pull with your hands. And when you pull with your hands, you get a lot more help from your arm. With a half grip, I try to keep my hands mostly relaxed, my forearms are relaxed, and I really try to mentally focus on pulling my elbow back and around. So remember, you want to let your shoulders drift forward into protraction. You want to squeeze your shoulder blades back, retraction, and really focus on pulling those elbows. So squeeze, pull the elbows. Forearms are relaxed. Don't think about your hands. Just think about your elbows. If you're still here, thanks for hanging around until the end of the video. If you have any tips or advice or any favorite exercises, please leave them in the comments. If you found any of this information helpful, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.